The afternoon sun rested high in the sky, washing the abandoned riverside warehouse in pale daylight. Dust floated like tiny ghosts through the broken windows. Rusted metal beams hummed softly as the wind slipped through gaps in the walls. It was the kind of place where secrets were buried, and where danger had its own quiet heartbeat. Leonardo Vescari stepped inside first. His footsteps echoed, slow, confident, heavy with the weight of a man who had never feared anything or anyone. The Mafia Boss wore a tailored charcoal suit, the fabric catching the sunlight in sharp angles. His jaw was tense. His eyes, cold and alert, swept across the shadows as if expecting an ambush at any second. Behind him, two of his men waited near the entrance, guns hidden beneath their jackets, watching their boss for orders. Leonardo wasn't here for a fight. Not yet. He was here for answers. A rumor had reached him that his stolen shipment, worth millions, had been moved here. But the warehouse was too quiet, too still. Something felt wrong from the moment his shoes touched the dusty floor. Then he heard it. A soft breath. A quiet, shaky sound. Not from a man. From a woman. Or a child. Leonardo moved toward the center of the warehouse, stepping through a long shaft of sunlight piercing down from a hole in the roof. And that's when he saw them. A woman kneeling on the ground, and a small boy lying unconscious beside her. The woman's clothes were dirty, ripped at the shoulder. Her hair was tied back messily, as if done in a hurry. Her hands were pressed against the boy's chest, trying to stop the bleeding from a wound he should not have lived through. But what froze Leonardo wasn't the blood. It wasn't even the boy. It was the woman's voice, quiet, steady, and spoken without lifting her eyes from the child. If you stand up, you die first. Leonardo's boots stopped instantly. He didn't know why. Maybe it was the flatness in her tone. Maybe it was the strange confidence. Or the way she didn't fear him, the most dangerous man in 3 cities. His hand moved toward his gun. But then, a bullet cracked through the silence. Fast. Precise. It hit the floor just inches from Leonardo's shoe, splintering concrete into his polished leather. His men outside panicked. Close! You good? One shouted from behind the door. Leonardo didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the woman. Slowly, very slowly, she lifted her face. Her eyes were tired, red from crying, but sharp, focused, filled with a fear she refused to show. You move, she whispered, and he'll shoot again. Don't stand. Don't raise your head. Don't even straighten your back. Leonardo frowned. Sniper, she said, voice trembling now. On the building across from this one. He's been watching us since morning. Leonardo didn't believe her at first. He was a mafia boss, not a frightened civilian. People didn't ambush him. People didn't chase random schoolteachers and little boys. But another bullet answered for her, this one slicing through a hanging iron chain, sending it clattering to the floor. Leonardo's instinct fired. Someone really was watching them. His jaw clenched. He crouched slowly, joining her in the cover of the old steel pillar she hid behind. He still kept his distance. He didn't trust strangers, especially ones involved in scenes like this. But his eyes kept drifting to the child. The boy looked no older than 7. What happened to him? Leonardo asked, voice low. The woman swallowed hard. He was shot. I was trying to stop the bleeding. I don't know how long he has. Leonardo's breath grew tight, but he hid it well. He was not a man who wasted emotion on strangers. But something about the boy bothered him. His small hand, his weak breathing, the innocence smeared with blood. And you? Leonardo asked. The woman shook her head. I wasn't supposed to be here. I was just a teacher. I was at school. Her voice broke. I don't know why they took us. Leonardo leaned closer, lowering his voice. Who took you? She hesitated. Her lips trembled. But she forced herself to speak. Men in masks. 3 of them. They knew my name. They knew his name. They knew where we would be. Her voice shook harder. I escaped with him while they were arguing. I thought we were safe until the sniper shot him. Leonardo felt something twist inside his chest. A sniper hunting a woman and a child. In broad daylight. In a warehouse rumored to hold his stolen cargo. Nothing about this was random. But before he could question her further, the boy gasped. Both Leonardo and the woman turned, instinctively leaning over him. The child's eyelids fluttered. His lips trembled. She cupped his cheek. Luca. Luca, stay with me, okay? Breathe! Just breathe. Leonardo watched the boy's small body tremble. Watched life struggle inside him like a candle fighting the wind. Then Luca whispered something. Barely a breath, barely sound. One word. One chilling word. He's coming. The woman froze. Leonardo's blood went cold. Who? Leonardo asked sharply. The boy's fingers twitched weakly on the woman's sleeve. Then his eyes rolled back. His breathing shallow. Barely there. Leonardo looked back at the warehouse entrance. The daylight outside suddenly felt too bright, too calm, like the world itself was holding its breath. A metallic click echoed from somewhere behind the crates. Someone else was in the warehouse. Leonardo's hand slid slowly to the gun under his jacket. The woman whispered, voice trembling, "He's here." Leonardo didn't stand, didn't shift, didn't expose himself to the sniper's line of sight, but his heart pounded in his chest. Someone had just entered the warehouse. Someone connected to the boy's warning. Someone who wanted them all dead. The footsteps grew closer, slow, deliberate, confident. Leonardo narrowed his eyes. Whoever it was. They weren't afraid of being seen. They weren't afraid of being heard. They wanted Leonardo to know they were here. A shadow stretched across the sunlit floor. A silhouette stepped into view. And then, a voice cold as steel spoke from behind the crates. Leonardo Viscari. I've been waiting for you. The woman's breath hitched. Leonardo's grip tightened on his gun. The footsteps stopped. Silence pressed down like a heavy weight. Leonardo whispered to the woman without looking at her. Don't talk. Don't move. Stay low. Because the next moment, everything could explode into violence. The warehouse felt even colder after the mysterious voice echoed through it. Dust drifted lazily in the golden afternoon sun, but the air itself felt heavy, like it was waiting for something terrible to happen. Leonardo Viscari stayed crouched behind the steel pillar, jaw tight, eyes narrowed. His heartbeat thundered quietly in his ears, not from fear, but from calculation, from danger, from the presence of someone who knew his name, his identity, and walked toward him without hesitation. The woman, Eva, held the unconscious boy close to her chest, whispering his name like a prayer. Luca, Luca, please breathe. Just breathe for me. The boy's chest rose, shallow and fragile. Too fragile. Leonardo shot Eva a glance. Her hand shook, but she was doing everything she could to keep the child alive. The instant he saw her fear, something inside him tightened. He had seen fear 1,000 times in his life. But this woman's fear wasn't for herself. It was for the boy. The shadow behind the crates moved again. Leonardo raised his voice, keeping it low but commanding. What do you want? The stranger laughed softly. You'll know soon enough. Leonardo didn't wait. He shifted, signaling one of his men through the crack in the door. Stay out of sight, he whispered. We have a sniper. Then, silence. A long, tense silence. Until the man behind the crates took one step forward. Then another. Then, a loud thud. Leonardo's men outside yelled, Boss, someone's firing from the roof. Gunshots erupted, sharp, cold sounds echoing through the empty warehouse. The stranger behind the crates cursed. Heavy footsteps retreated fast. Leonardo peeked around the pillar just long enough to see a figure sprinting toward the back exit, disappearing behind broken machinery before he could get a clear shot. He didn't pursue. Not yet. Not when the boy was bleeding out. Not when a sniper still had a perfect daytime view of the entrance. Eva clutched Luca tighter as gunfire faded outside. Her voice cracked. We can't stay here. We can't. Leonardo moved closer, still low, still cautious. He studied the boy, the wound, the way Eva tried to stop the bleeding with nothing but trembling hands and a torn piece of her own shirt. He wasn't a doctor, but he had seen enough gun wounds in his life to know this child should not have been alive. Yet he was breathing, fighting, holding on with impossible strength. Leonardo spoke quietly, almost to himself. This boy, he should have been gone already. Eva's eyes filled with tears. Don't say that. He didn't respond immediately. Instead, he looked at her, really looked at her. A schoolteacher, covered in dirt, grabbed off the street by masked men, now sitting in a warehouse with a mafia boss, trying to save a child who had been shot by a sniper. None of it made sense. Tell me everything, Leonardo said. Every detail. Eva swallowed, wiping her eyes with her wrist. It started this morning. I was taking my class outside. Luca was holding my hand. We were talking about his math homework. Normal things. Then a van pulled up. Fast. Too fast. Her breath hitched. The doors opened. They weren't wearing masks at first. They just stared at me, stared at Luca. Then one of them whispered something into his radio, and she stopped. The memory hit her too hard. Leonardo waited patiently. He didn't rush her. He didn't interrupt. He just listened. They grabbed him first, she continued quietly. I tried to fight them off. I don't know why they weren't after me. But when I wouldn't let go of him, they forced me inside too. Leonardo leaned forward slightly. What did they say? Did they mention a name? Anything? Eva hesitated, then nodded slowly. They said something about delivering him before sunset, and they mentioned a crest. Leonardo froze. A crest. His voice turned sharp. Eva nodded again. A tattoo on the neck of one of the men. A small shield with a serpent around it. I saw it when he grabbed Luca. Leonardo's blood ran cold. That crest. That serpent. He knew it better than anyone alive, because it belonged to the Viscari family. His family. Eva saw the change in his eyes and swallowed nervously. You recognize it? Leonardo didn't answer. Not directly. Instead, he whispered something under his breath, a name he hadn't said in years. Matteo. Eva looked confused. Who is that? Leonardo didn't want to explain. Not here, not now. But he forced himself. My cousin. Exiled. Dangerous. Someone who should have stayed out of my territory. Eva's eyes widened. So one of your own people is behind this? Leonardo clenched his jaw. His gaze hardened. No, not my people. Not anymore. Before Eva could ask more, the boy stirred again. A weak tremble ran through his body. Eva leaned down immediately. Luca? Luca, can you hear me? The boy's eyes fluttered open, hazy and unfocused. He looked up at Eva first, then at Leonardo. His lips parted. A whisper barely escaped. He said, My dad has files. Eva froze. Leonardo's heart sank like a stone. Files. Of course there were files. What files? Leonardo demanded softly, leaning closer. Luca swallowed painfully, barely clinging to consciousness. Hidden government files about Mafia about you. Leonardo felt a chill cut straight through him. Matteo wasn't just after leverage. He wanted power, control, money, and most of all, revenge. Eva looked terrified. Why would they use a child? Why him? Leonardo answered with a grim, hollow voice. Because his father is a government official, one who probably refused to help Matteo. And Matteo never takes no for an answer. The sun shifted, casting a new beam of light across the warehouse floor, illuminating Luca's pale face. Another crack. Another bullet. The sniper. Eva screamed softly and ducked lower, wrapping her arms around the boy. Leonardo cursed under his breath. He knows we're still here. The bullet wasn't meant to kill. It was meant to pressure them, force them to move, force them into the open. Leonardo's mind raced. He needed a plan. He needed to get them out alive. But before he could form one, a violent explosion shattered the air. Boom! The warehouse entrance burst inward. Metal tore apart. Dust exploded upward. Leonardo threw himself over Eva and Luca as debris rained down around them. His men outside yelled in panic. Gunfire erupted. Someone was attacking from the outside now, pushing in, closing in. Eva clung to Luca. Her voice cracked. Leonardo, what do we do? Leonardo rose halfway, gun drawn, eyes locked on the smoke-filled entrance. Through the dust, through the sunlight, a figure began to step inside. Tall, broad-shouldered, moving slowly like he owned the place. Leonardo's heartbeat turned to iron. Eva whispered, voice trembling with terror. Is that Matteo? Leonardo didn't blink, didn't breathe, because the silhouette in the smoke smiled. A cruel, familiar smile Leonardo hadn't seen in years. A smile he hoped he'd never see again. He whispered back, voice low and cold. No, but he works for Matteo. The figure cocked a shotgun. The metallic click echoed like a death sentence. Leonardo aimed, ready to fire. But then the boy suddenly gasped hard, his small body jerking. Eva cried out, Luca? Luca? Stay with me. Leonardo's eyes snapped toward the child. Luca's breathing turned ragged, fast, panicked, like his body was running out of strength. Leonardo's mind raced. A wounded child, a sniper, a shotgun-wielding enforcer, and a cousin who wanted him dead. Everything was falling apart. The figure stepped closer through the sunlight, lifting the shotgun, pointing it directly at Leonardo's head. The enforcer's voice echoed through the ruined warehouse. Matteo sends his regards. Leonardo didn't flinch. He tightened his grip. His eyes sharpened. But Eva looked at Leonardo with pure fear. Yet she whispered something unexpected. Trust me. Just this once. Don't move yet. Leonardo stared at her. She stared back, with tears, yes, but with impossible courage. A moment later, the shotgun clicked again. Loaded. Aimed. Ready to fire. Sunlight poured through the smoke-filled warehouse entrance, turning the floating dust into bright, swirling gold. The echo of the explosion still trembled in the air. Eva held Luca tightly, shielding his fragile body with her own. Leonardo Vescari remained half-crouched in front of them, gun drawn, eyes locked on the silhouette standing inside the glowing doorway. The man walked forward slowly, confidently, like he owned the light itself. The shotgun in his hands glinted in the sun, each step clicking softly on broken concrete. Leonardo's chest tightened, not with fear, but with cold calculation. He recognized that walk, that posture, that arrogance. This was not someone sent to negotiate. This was someone sent to finish the job. The man stepped through the remaining smoke, revealing sharp eyes, a shaved head, and a scar running from his brow to his jaw. His smile was thin and cruel. He pointed the shotgun directly at Leonardo. Matteo said you'd be stubborn, he said, voice calm and steady. But I didn't think he meant this stubborn. Leonardo didn't move. He didn't blink. But his mind raced. Eva whispered behind him, her voice cracking. Who is he? Leonardo answered without looking back. A killer. One of Matteo's favorites. The man smirked. Not just a killer, Leonardo. I'm the window. Eva frowned, confused. Window? The man tilted his chin proudly. The last thing my targets see is my bullet through a window. A windshield. A doorway. A gap. Any opening. He tapped the shotgun lightly against his palm. And today, I'm shooting through you. Leonardo's jaw clenched. He knew the name. Everyone in the underworld knew that name. The window never missed, never hesitated, never left loose ends. But before the window could fire, a rapid burst of gunfire came from the side entrance. Leonardo's trusted lieutenant, Silva, burst in like a storm, firing 3 shots toward the window. The assassin staggered back, cursing, barely dodging the bullets. Eva gasped and pulled Luca closer as Leonardo used the moment to pull her behind a stack of crates. The window dove behind metal barrels, returning fire with brutal precision. Gunshots cracked through the warehouse, echoing like thunder trapped inside steel walls. Silva slid across the floor to join Leonardo behind cover. Boss, the roof's crawling, snipers still up there. Leonardo grunted. I know. Silva glanced at Eva and the boy, eyebrows raised. And who are? No time. Leonardo snapped. More bullets whizzed past, one smashing into the crate they hid behind. Splinters of wood sprayed everywhere. Eva flinched but didn't scream. She had a courage that surprised even Leonardo. The window shouted from across the warehouse, voice echoing in the dusty air. Leonardo, let's make this easy. Matteo just wants the boy. Hand him over, and maybe I'll give you a quick death. Eva's entire body stiffened. She held Luca tighter, as if the force of her grip alone could shield him from monsters like this. Leonardo's eyes hardened. He leaned closer to Silva. He wants us desperate. He wants us to move so the sniper can get a clean shot. Silva nodded grimly. Then we don't move. The window laughed coldly. I can wait all day. Snipers got eyes on every exit. You're trapped, Leo. Leonardo peeked carefully through a narrow gap between crates. The window was limping. One of Silva's bullets had hit him in the leg, but he was focused, steady, and ready to kill. Leonardo's voice dropped to a low whisper. He's not alone. Silva frowned. What do you mean? Leonardo pointed subtly toward a dark corner of the roof. A faint glint. A slight shift. The sniper's scope. Silva hissed. Damn it. Eva's voice trembled. We can't outdrum bullets. What do we do? What if the sniper? Leonardo cut her off gently. Quiet. She did. But something strange happened next. She closed her eyes. Completely. Calmly. As if she needed the silence more than the air around her. Leonardo watched her. Even Silva paused, confused. Eva's breathing steadied. Her eyelashes fluttered. Her fingertips lightly touched the floor. Then she whispered, There are two upstairs. Leonardo's eyes widened. Two? Eva nodded. One is moving. One is still. The still one is watching this entrance. The other is adjusting position on the left side. Higher ground. Silva stared at her. How the hell do you know that? Eva opened her eyes slowly, fear swimming inside them, but also something else. A strange, sharp awareness. I can hear them, she said softly. Silva scoffed, thinking she meant normal footsteps. But Leonardo didn't scoff. He studied her carefully. Eva continued in a trembling whisper. I grew up with hearing issues. Not deaf. Just different. I learned to listen to things other people ignore. Breathing, metal clicks, pressure changes. It helped me survive in places where children didn't get second chances. Leonardo understood instantly. She didn't just hear sounds. She interpreted them, calculated them, predicted movements with frightening accuracy. A rare skill. A dangerous one. A skill Matteo's men would kill to erase. Leonardo's voice softened. You saved my life earlier. Eva didn't answer. She just looked at Luca, her eyes full of fear that she couldn't hide anymore. Saving him matters more, she whispered. The boy stirred again. A painful, weak whimper escaped his lips. Eva choked on a sob, her hands trembling harder. Silva muttered, We can't keep waiting. Luca's fading. Leonardo knew Silva was right. He turned toward Eva. Tell me again, where are they? She closed her eyes. Listen. The still one. Roof, east side. Watching the center of the warehouse. She pointed slightly. The moving one. Near the skylight. He's impatient. He'll shoot as soon as someone stands fully. Leonardo cursed under his breath. That meant they were surrounded. And the window was still somewhere ahead, waiting for a clear shot. Silva clenched his jaw. Boss, we're running out of time. Leonardo's mind raced. He needed a plan. A real plan. Not just brute force. Not just luck. Eva whispered suddenly, her voice small but steady. I know how to get us out. Leonardo and Silva turned to her at the same time. You what? Eva nodded nervously. There's a blind angle. A place the snipers can't see. It's small, but big enough for us to crawl through. Leonardo narrowed his eyes. How sure are you? Eva swallowed hard. Sure enough to bet my life. And his. She looked down at Luca, her hand brushing his hair. That convinced Leonardo more than anything. He nodded. Then we move on your signal. Silva muttered something about insanity under his breath, but he prepared anyway. Leonardo placed a hand lightly on Eva's shoulder. It was the first time he touched her. "Eva," he said quietly, "I need you to stay calm." She nodded, though her whole body trembled. "I'll try." Leonardo leaned closer, locking eyes with her. "You're braver than half my men." Her breath hitched. For a moment, fear didn't control her. Courage did. And she nodded again. Gunfire erupted suddenly, the window firing another shot from across the warehouse. "Ready," Leonardo barked. But Eva didn't move yet. She listened with that strange, rare skill of hers. Her eyes flicked in the direction of the roof. The sniper shifted. The window's position changed. Then, she whispered the words that determined their fate. "Now." Leonardo grabbed her arm. Silva grabbed Luca. They dashed out from behind the crates, crawling low, sprinting only in bursts. Bullets rained behind them, but never hit. Eva's instincts were perfect. Silva whispered, "This is working. Keep going." But then, a sharp whistle cut through the warehouse. A bullet exploded inches from Leonardo's foot. A second one blasted a chunk of concrete beside Eva's face. The sniper had found them. Silva cursed. They adjusted angles. "They can see us now." Leonardo grabbed Eva and pulled her behind an overturned metal trolley, shielding her and Luca with his own body. The window's voice echoed from across the warehouse, dripping with satisfaction. "You didn't think you could hide from me, did you, Leonardo?" Then, a shadow fell across the skylight. A man jumped down. Not the sniper. Someone worse. A tall figure landed on top of a storage container with a heavy thud, sunlight catching on the gun holster strapped across his chest. He looked down at Leonardo from above, smiling wickedly. "Miss me, cousin?" Leonardo's breath froze. Matteo Vescari himself had arrived. Eva gasped. Silva reached for his gun, but Matteo only pointed his pistol down at them, smiling like a man who already knew the ending of this story. Leonardo's stomach turned to stone. Matteo didn't send killers. He came himself. And that meant one thing. Morning sunlight drifted lazily across the old safehouse floor. But nothing about the room felt lazy. The air was tight. The silence was sharp. And for the first time since this nightmare began, even the Mafia Boss felt small. Because the girl, the silent, strange girl, was no longer just staring at shadows. She was counting them, whispering numbers under her breath like a prayer she didn't want God to hear. 333 seconds, she murmured. Luca watched her closely. He had survived gunfights, betrayals, ambushes, hell itself. But nothing made his heart punch his ribs harder than the way she kept repeating. 3 seconds of sunlight. That's all he needs. He swallowed. "Who needs?" he asked. The girl didn't answer. She wasn't ignoring him. She simply seemed trapped inside a memory so loud that reality could barely compete. Beside Luca, the boy clung to his sleeve. His voice trembled like a scared bird. "Is she broken?" Luca wanted to say no. He wanted to comfort the boy, but he had no idea. So he kept watching. The girl suddenly stepped into the brightest patch of sunlight on the dusty floor. Her bare feet stopped right at the edge, as if crossing that invisible line could kill her. Her eyes closed. She inhaled slowly. And then, she whispered a sentence that made every hair on Luca's body stand up. "This is where he appeared." Luca's jaw clenched. Her eyes opened. And for the first time since yesterday, she looked directly at him. Those eyes, those huge, frightened, burning eyes, felt like two small suns that had seen the end of the world and were still shaking from it. She whispered, "The man in the sunlight." The boy stepped forward nervously. "I saw someone too last night," he said softly. "Outside the window." He didn't move. He didn't blink. Just watched. Luca turned sharply. "What? Why didn't you tell me?" The boy hugged himself. "I thought he was your friend. Or your enemy. I don't know your world. I don't know who hates you." Luca felt something cold spread through his chest. He had made many enemies, but none that matched the fear in this child's voice. The girl shook her head. "No, not his enemy," she said. not someone you can threaten or shoot. Her fingers tightened around the small rusted key hanging around her neck. He follows light. He hides in it. And when sunlight touches a door, he opens it. Luca stared. A man, hiding in sunlight. Impossible. Yet the fear in both children felt too real, too pure to be a lie. She stepped back into shadow. Her voice was barely a breath as she spoke. It was 3 months ago. I was out in the street. Early morning. Sun just rising. She paused. I was late for school. My mother was going to be angry. The boy listened with wide eyes. Luca's heart thudded slowly. He appeared when the light hit the corner of the bakery, she said. Just grew out of the sun, like a person made of heat. She trembled. I thought he was just a man playing tricks with mirrors. So I looked again. Silence. And he smiled. Her lips quivered. But the smile didn't reach his face. It was like watching someone try to be human. Luca's fists tightened. What did he want? Her throat tightened. Her eyes filled. He asked me if I wanted to survive the next 3 months. Luca felt his pulse spike. And he said, if you stand up, you die first. The boy gasped. Luca's blood froze. Those were her exact words yesterday, before she ever explained anything. So you listened, Luca whispered. She nodded. I didn't stand. I froze. And when the sunlight moved away from him, he disappeared. Disappeared? The boy said. Like gone? Yes, she whispered. Gone like he was never born. Luca took a long breath. So this thing, he said slowly, is what's after the boy. The girl shook her head. It's after all of us. Luca frowned. Why? Her answer was soft, broken. Because we shouldn't be alive. The boy paled. What does that mean? The girl looked at both of them with eyes full of guilt. The kind of guilt that doesn't belong in children. We were on a bus. 3 months ago. The bus fell off a cliff. Everyone died. Her voice cracked. Except us. The boy stepped back. What? But, no, I wasn't. You don't remember, she said gently. None of us remember the crash. He wiped it. Who? Luca whispered. The man in the sunlight. The room felt darker, quieter, colder. Luca swallowed hard. You're telling me we're being hunted by something that decides who's supposed to be alive? She nodded. And he's coming today. Her voice turned hollow. When the sunlight touches that door. The boy shook violently. And no, I don't want to die. The girl grabbed his hand. You won't. Not if you listen. Luca stepped toward the door, checking the angle of sunlight creeping slowly across the floor. 1 inch at a time. How long do we have? She took a trembling breath. 3 seconds. Luca blinked. 3 seconds until what? The girl pointed at the sunlight inching closer to the wooden door. When that light reaches the door, the man in the sunlight can enter. Luca's entire body tensed. How much time? He demanded. The girl whispered. Count with me. She crouched beside the door. The boy clung to her sleeve. Luca dropped to one knee, eyes locked on the creeping strip of gold. The room became a countdown. Sunlight glowing, dust drifting, 3 terrified souls holding their breath. Her voice trembled as she began. 3. The sunlight touched the edge of the door. 2. Luca reached for his gun. 1. A finger-shaped shadow appeared under the door. Not a foot, not a hand, a shadow of something that wasn't there. The girl's voice shattered. He's here. For a moment, no one breathed. Not the boy gripping the girl's sleeve. Not the girl, frozen with wide, terrified eyes. Not even the Mafia Boss, Luca, who had survived gunfights, betrayals, and every nightmare the criminal world could invent. Because under the door, a shadow moved. A finger-shaped shadow that didn't belong to any human body. It stretched across the sunlight like a dark thread pulled by invisible hands. The girl whispered, barely breathing. Don't stand up. Luca's muscles locked. The boy whimpered. The sunlight brightened, and the shadow grew. The wooden door trembled once, then again, as if something on the other side wasn't knocking, but testing it. Luca whispered. Is he trying to get in? The girl shook her head slowly, dread in her eyes. No, he's already inside the light. The boy squeezed her hand so hard his knuckles went white. How do we stop him? Her voice cracked. You don't. Silence hit the room like a punch. She continued, shivering. You only survive him. How? Luca growled. She swallowed. You do not move. You do not stand. You do not break the rule. As long as you stay low, he can't choose you. Luca's heartbeat roared in his ears. Choose. Choose? The word tasted wrong in his mouth. Choose us for what? He whispered. The answer came as the shadow outside the door shifted into a foot-shaped smear. To finish the death we escaped. The handle of the door clicked softly. Not loud, not dramatic. Just a gentle, confident click, like someone opening their own home. Luca aimed his gun. The girl hissed. Put it down. No, he whispered. You can't shoot light, she said. You'll only make him curious. Curious. The word sent a tremor through Luca's stomach. The door creaked open an inch. A strip of sunlight spilled across the floor, bright and sharp. Dust sparkled inside it like tiny diamonds. A silhouette appeared inside the light. Not fully, not shaped like a normal person, just a vertical column of shifting brightness, like a figure made of heat waves. The boy whimpered. I can't look at him. The girl covered his eyes. Don't. He changes when you look too long. Luca stared at the figure. The sunlight twisted, and a face began to form inside it. Not a human face, not even close. It was like a mask trying to imitate expressions it didn't understand. And then, a smile stretched across it. Why? Cold. Wrong. The girl whispered. That's the smile. Luca's grip tightened. What does he want from the boy? Her answer was barely a breath. The same thing he wants from me. Luca kept his voice low. Tell me. The girl trembled. We all died. Her eyes shimmered. In that accident. She looked at the sunlight figure. He wasn't supposed to let us go, but he did. 3 of us survived when no one should have. And now, he's here to take back the mistake. The boy shook violently. I don't want to die. You won't, Luca whispered fiercely. But the girl shook her head. You can't stop him. Not with fists. Not with bullets. You survive him by obeying the rule. The figure in the sunlight stepped forward. Its foot made no sound on the floor. Luca felt the air distort around it. Warm, shimmering, lethal. The girl's voice trembled like a thin string ready to snap. Rule number 1. Her breath quivered. Never stand up. The figure drifted forward, slow and patient, like death taking its time. It turned its faceless head toward the boy. The child gasped. Luca saw the shadow reach for the boy's feet. No, he snarled. He lunged, instinct, anger, love, something primal exploding in his chest. He reached forward, but his movement pushed him halfway off the ground. The girl screamed. Luca, don't stand. He froze mid-motion, half crouched, half rising, balanced on the edge of life and death. The sunlight figure turned toward him. Its smile widened, like it had been waiting for this. The girl cried out, voice cracking. IFYOU stand YOUDIE first. The creature stretched toward Luca, a claw of shadow forming in the light. The boy sobbed. Boss, please. Luca's teeth clenched. He could feel death brushing his cheek. He was inches from breaking the rule, inches from dying. The figure loomed closer. The girl grabbed Luca's arm, dragging him down with all her strength. Down. And OW. Luca collapsed flat onto the floor, and the sunlight creature missed him by a breath. The figure's hand sliced through air, then paused, as if confused. The girl pulled the boy and Luca tighter into the darkest corner. Stay low, she whispered. Stay low. The creature moved around the room, drifting through beams of sunlight like a ghost searching for misplaced souls. It lingered near them, hovering, listening, choosing. A sound outside. A passing truck. Its shadow crossed the window. For a single moment, Sunlight dimmed. The creature flickered. The girl gasped. That's our chance. The creature dissolved, melting into thin air as the light weakened. And then, it was gone. Completely. The room fell silent. Only the children's ragged breaths and Luca's pounding heartbeat remained. They waited. 1 second. 2. 3. The girl finally whispered. He can't enter again until the sunlight returns. Luca collapsed back against the wall, trembling with adrenaline. The boy curled against him, crying softly. The worst was over. For now. Minutes later, the girl stood up carefully, checking the angles of the light. Luca wiped sweat from his forehead. Is he gone for good? He asked. The girl shook her head slowly. He will come again tomorrow at dawn, and the next day, until the mistake is corrected. The boy whimpered. But we didn't ask to survive. I know, she whispered. Luca placed a steady hand on their shoulders. Listen to me, he said quietly. You're not alone. You're with me now. The girl turned to him. You can't fight him, Mafia Boss. Luca looked at the sunlight, then back at her. No, he said, but I can protect you between the light, and I can make sure we're ready next time. The girl studied him. Then, for the first time since they met, she nodded. A small, fragile trust forming. A Mafia Boss. A terrified girl. A trembling boy. 3 souls running from a light that should give life, but instead brings death. The girl whispered the final words of the chapter. Sunrise comes in 8 hours, and when it does we don't get a second mistake. Luca stared at the door. Ready. Determined. Alive. For now. And that is the end of our story. A tale of fear, survival, and rules written in sunlight. If this chapter kept you on the edge of your seat, if these characters touched your heart, or if the suspense made you hold your breath, then make sure to like this video. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think the man in the sunlight truly is? And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful cinematic stories. Your support means everything, and it helps more people discover these stories. Until the next one, stay safe, stay in the shadows, and remember, some rules are written to save your life.